Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel, the morning or the afternoon for some of you, most of you actually I think, after Chelsea win 3-1 away at Leicester City. In this video today, once again, as it's been 3 victories in a row, 3 wins in a week, the mood is changing dramatically. My mood is changing dramatically towards a lot of the players and specifically Graham Potter. So I keep being reminded by people that I wanted the man gone a week ago and now I don't. And that is absolutely correct. Congratulations to those of you that have managed to successfully observe that one. Today we're going to talk about the main reasons why, in my opinion, Graham Potter is proactively turning things around at Chelsea. And we're talking about tangible differences now. Not just the results that we're seeing, but things that are happening in-game that Graham Potter is orchestrating, which is why he deserves a lot of credit, specifically for yesterday's win away at Leicester. Now, yesterday's video is absolutely killing it. You guys have been hitting the like button a lot. You've been subscribing to the channel. We're on the final stretch now to 250,000 Chelsea fans. So I know I keep saying it, but please do subscribe if you're not already. And please hit the like button. We're going to go through player ratings today. I want to break down this match a little bit more and really focus a bit on the manager, because when things weren't going very well, I was very quick to criticise. And now that things are going well, and we can actually see a trajectory here, and we can actually see definitive progress from the win against Leeds, well, take it back even. The defeat against Tottenham, in my opinion, was undoubtedly the moment where Graham Potter realised, you know what, if I don't turn this around immediately, this whole massive opportunity that I've got at Chelsea Football Club, it's gone. It's absolutely gone. And I stand by what I said before that Leeds and before the Dortmund game specifically. If Graham Potter would have failed to win either against Leeds or Dortmund, I don't think he's sat here in a job right now. I really don't. And I think as much as hindsight is a wonderful thing, I genuinely feel as though the pressure and the fact that there would have really been nothing to fight for in the season would have been enough reason for the Chelsea board to be like, this hasn't worked and it needs to work as quickly as possible, regardless of whether there's Champions League quarterfinals to be played and won or not. But that didn't happen. Graham has absolutely done it. The game against Leeds was classic team, significantly better than a team struggling. Even though both teams were struggling, Chelsea on paper should always beat that Leeds United team. I said it after that game. That Leeds match, Chelsea, if they were playing against any other team in the league, I think on that day, it might not have gone the way that it did. Chelsea needed to get a bit of luck. Leeds were poor. And then Dortmund, we spiced it up. We woke up. We understood that there was a job to be done. And if that wasn't a win, there was nothing left really in the season to go for. Off the back of that, Chelsea have got confidence. And yesterday's game at Leicester, once more, a Leicester team who didn't play badly. Leicester were playing dirty yesterday. They were up for this. They wanted to inflict pain on Chelsea. Literally, within the first 90 seconds of the game, Ricardo Pereira tries to break Joao Felix's leg. Not saying he actually did try to break it, but it bloody looked as though he was going for it with that kind of nature of tackle. And Chelsea, what we did yesterday very well, which again is a praise to Graham Potter, we managed the temperament of the performance, because when Leicester are coming out playing like that, with Chelsea kind of desperate at the moment to prove a point and to keep winning football matches to build upon the last 2 results, it would be very easy for us to lose our heads in a game like this where Leicester are leaving everything on Chelsea players when they're making tackles. But we didn't, and I think we managed the mood of the game very, very well. And I think once more, another thing that has become very important in the last couple of matches, even in the Leeds game, Chelsea scored from a corner. Yesterday, we nearly did it again. Wesley Fofana showing that now that he's back from injury, Chelsea have been missing out. He was a player who was written off earlier this season because people thought, he's always going to be injured, he's a waste of money, Chelsea have screwed this one up. And then yesterday, once again, against his former club, Wesley Fofana shows up. And I think overall, the way that we managed in-game yesterday, we're going to talk about Potter a bit later in the video. The substitutions were perfect, and overall, Chelsea controlled this game for large swathes of it. Leicester, we know that they're always going to be dangerous on the attack. They brought Jamie Vardy on. We didn't really give him too many sniffs on goal. But we begin with the ratings for Kepa Arrizabalaga. 150th Chelsea performance yesterday for Kepa, which I think puts him in like the top 140 or something performance makers of all time for Chelsea Football Club. But it's a 6 out of 10 for Kepa. I would say, as much as it wasn't predominantly his fault that Patson Daka scores, long shots again, it's become a staple now at Chelsea, where if opposition shoot from outside the area, Kepa is not the greatest goalkeeper in the Premier League at saving those long shots. He's a brilliant shot stopper in the box, but Patson Daka hits it on his left foot. It's a really good strike, and it goes past him. There's a couple of moments as well where he's kind of flapping at the ball, and if it wasn't for some awful finishing from Leicester, he probably would have scored. And at the moment, I think Kepa has given himself the chance to have a game like that because he has been so good for us. And once again, he only concedes 1. Chelsea score 3. We win the game. We can kind of move on from it. But yeah, moments yesterday where we did see a bit of the old Kepa. Wesley Fofana is a massively solid 8.5. Considering the Leicester fans were all over him yesterday, trying to give him a hard time, trying to use his age really. Didn't really faze him whatsoever. Wesley Fofana is, in my opinion, a generational centre-back. If we can keep him fit, if he can keep himself healthy and not on the injury table, then Wesley Fofana is going to be a mainstay in this Chelsea back line and the French national team for many years to come. I thought he was very good on the ball, controlled the game well, and once again, I mentioned the points about temperament and how Chelsea controlled the temperament of a feisty affair at the King Power Stadium. And considering Wesley Fofana and Ben Chilwell were 2 of our best players yesterday, and those were the 2 players getting the brunt of everything from the fans, I think it's absolutely a springboard to build on these performances. I think Fofana, even with Thiago Silva coming back from injury after that international break, you cannot remove Wesley Fofana from this team. And at the moment, the one player who's going to miss out, who doesn't deserve it, is Badiashile, because Thiago Silva's got to come back in, hasn't he? Let me know in the comments down below. Kalidou Koulibaly, again, another 8.5 performance. I like doing these player ratings videos after I've done the 6 Things We Learned videos, because when I do 6 Things We Learn, I make my notes during the game. If I'm live streaming, it's less easy for me, and I need to go back and watch multiple videos, read a lot about the game, look at statistics and everything else. And Koulibaly once more yesterday was probably one of those players that went under the radar. As I'm watching the game and I'm getting agitated about the fouls, I'm getting agitated about the red cards that I thought Leicester should have had, I was thinking emotionally about the players like Chilwell, Fofana, who were having to deal with the extra from the crowd, as opposed to looking once again at the perfectly assured performance from Koulibaly. It's taken a while, and when you look back to that Tottenham game a few weeks ago, Koulibaly was one of many players at fault for that early goal in the second half that Oliver Skipp whacks into the back of the net. And since that moment, he's hardly put, if at all, a foot wrong in a Chelsea shirt. And people were saying, myself included, we might have wasted our money on him. And that's why I want to do these videos when we're starting to do well again, to say, I was wrong. Koulibaly is showing now that maybe 33 million, considering just how much great youth talent we've got coming through the back line, Badiashile, Fofana, Levi Colwill to come back, Chelsea still need experience. So Koulibaly at the moment is bringing that in abundance. Marc Cucurella, giving him an 8 out of 10. I thought in the first half he was good, but once again I thought he was chasing it a little bit. A lot of good passing going forward once again from Cucurella, and I think he grew into the game. I think as the game went on, he looked like a bloody bloke on steroids again in that back line for Chelsea, defending with everything, putting in hard tackles. And I think it is pretty incredible to think about the fact that Chelsea, when we bought Cucurella, it was probably going to be either Cucurella or Ben Chilwell. And the fact that we are now seeing Chelsea at their best, that we've seen under Potter, with both Cucurella and Ben Chilwell in the team, I think they both complement each other so well. And some of the things that maybe Chilwell isn't as good at, Cucurella does perfectly, and vice versa. So I'm absolutely loving Marc Cucurella in this team in the last week. 8 out of 10 for him. We move into Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I've given Ruben a 7.5. Once again, Ruben deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing in this Chelsea team. Being asked to play in various different positions all the time, we don't really know anymore what the best Ruben Loftus-Cheek position is at Chelsea, because he's become that utility player that Chelsea can look to play right back, to play right wing back, to play defensive midfield, to play as one of the 3. And I think Ruben, once again yesterday, probably goes under the radar, maybe deserves something a little bit higher. Do you think I've been harsh here on Ruben Loftus-Cheek? I just thought he did a lot of stuff well, got forward well, and it's still not the same as a Reece James when Reece James is fully fit and playing in that wing-back role. But Ruben did more than enough for me. Ben Chilwell is another 8.5. The goal is sublime. It is a fabulous finish from Ben Chilwell. The volley, when it first goes in, I'm like, oh, I'm not entirely sure how at Danny Ward's near post he's been beaten there. But when you look at the ferocity of the shot from Ben Chilwell, he connects with it so well, and I think Ward isn't expecting him to shoot from there. And it is a credit. You know, I was watching the game against, I think I can't remember, it was Leeds or Dortmund the other day, and people on Twitter were saying, can someone teach Ben Chilwell how to shoot? I remember that goal he scored at Brentford. That was an absolute whammer. And I think yesterday, that one against Leicester, considering it was his former club, probably one of the best goals he scored in his career. And he's getting better and better, and we know just how important he is to this Chelsea team. Enzo Fernandez, I gave him a blue box in 6 Things We Learned. I've given Enzo a 9 out of 10. People were very quick to judge Enzo Fernandez for that price tag of 100 million. When Chelsea first signed him, we were looking at it thinking, if he's not incredible, this is the generic feeling amongst football fans. If he's not incredible, then what a waste of money. It was the easiest way for football fans to criticise Chelsea, to criticise the player. And immediately, all of these discussions about how much he cost have just gone out the window. Because when you watch him play, it's almost like, great, Chelsea have just gone and bought themselves a generational, using that word again, central midfielder who is going to absolutely tear this league to shreds for years and years to come. The pass for Havertz is just sensational. It's not the first time we've seen one of those little balls over the top that results in a Chelsea goal from Enzo Fernandez's pass. He was everywhere yesterday, putting in tackles again, lunging in, controlling the tempo of the game. He is everything Jorginho did good, but on steroids. Again, like I just said about Cucurella's defending. Mateo Kovacic, 8.5. It is a stunning goal. The more I watch this goal back, the more Mudryk deserves a hell of a lot of credit. But Kovacic, with Enzo Fernandez, the biggest question I've got at the minute, which I want to know from you guys in the comments down below, 3 at the back is absolutely working. And Graham Potter has been very bold to call it and use this and see 3 wins in a row. When N'Golo Kante is back, is it a Kante-Enzo Kova midfield? Or is it an Enzo Kante midfield? Because Enzo's irreplaceable now. Kovacic has been up and down in terms of form all season. But with Enzo next to him, I think we see just how much work Kovacic puts in. And I think they are already, in the couple of games we've seen them play together, they're complementing each other so well. And I think when we think about what is making Chelsea look balanced at the moment, because I think that's one of the biggest things that we are growing with in the last 3 games, we look as though the play is becoming more and more balanced. And I think a lot of that is down to what I said a few weeks ago. Have someone there next to Enzo that frees him up a little bit, gives him a bit more license to roam forward, to linger around the box a bit more. And Kovacic is doing that perfectly. Joao Felix, I've given him a 5.5, which seems very, very harsh. But he was in the wars a bit yesterday. He was getting battered with challenges. And when he gives the ball away for the goal, I think what that showed me is it kind of highlights what Felix is all about at the moment. He's trying to do a lot, and I really like him as a player. And maybe a 5.5 is a little bit harsh. Graham Potter does bring him off at half-time, and I don't think that was necessarily because Potter thought he was having a really bad game. But I do think that when you give the ball away like that on the edge of the area in the Premier League, you can't be faffing around with it there. And as much as we can say Kepa could have done better, it is Joao Felix's fault that Chelsea have conceded that goal. And I think from Felix at the moment, we are seeing a really, really talented footballer, but it's kind of been the same as what we've been saying at Atletico Madrid. We need more end product to justify some of the flashy brilliance that isn't quite consistent enough all the time on the pitch. Let me know if you think I'm being a bit too harsh, but 5.5. Mudryk is a 7.5. And if it wasn't for the assist for Kovacic, I'd have probably said 6.5, 7. He grew into the game a lot more. And I think when he came off, it was almost as though Graham Potter was like, I knew this guy was going to cook today. I knew with the formational shift in the second half, we were going to see a totally different Mykhailo Mudryk to what we saw in the first half. First half, going through the middle, he wasn't pressing enough. He wasn't keeping hold of the ball enough. His first touch was poor. And then as the game grew on, we started to see him getting involved more. We started to see him dropping into different pockets of space. The runs that he was making was freeing up space for many other players too. And we said that a lot about Timo Werner when Timo Werner was here. But I think with Mudryk, there is that little bit extra star quality. And the finish that he did when he scored, I felt sorry for him. It's one of those moments where you can't really cringe because you're a Chelsea fan. And of course, Didier Drogba's birthday, I think, was yesterday too. So he goes and does the Drogba celebration. But just so happened to be the only bloke in the stadium who didn't know he was offside. It happens like that sometimes. But the way he grew into the game, the brilliant weighted header for Mateo Kovacic, I've given him a 7.5. And Kai Havertz is the final member of the starting 11. He gets an 8.5. I thought Kai yesterday, he's building and building. And with Kai Havertz, it is so polarising. When he plays well, he is so great. He is so good to watch. His passing range is fantastic. We've not seen that enough at Chelsea. And yesterday, having a bit more of a free rein, dragging himself over to the right side as kind of like an inside right forward, that is where we see the best out of Kai Havertz. Thomas Tuchel said it perfectly. He's a 9.5. He's not an out-and-out number 9, but can do some of those number 9 things. And he's not an out-and-out number 10, but can do some of them. So let's sit in the middle with a 9.5. We're going to talk Conor Gallagher in a moment as well. But I think, again, it's got to be given the credit to Graham Potter here. Because that front three, Mudryk hasn't started in 4 games. Joao Felix is there, and then Havertz as well. I think all the credit's got to go to Graham Potter for what we're seeing in the last couple of games for Kai Havertz. Because when you give him that more creative freedom to move around a bit more in that front three, with the other players being able to do the same, we get to see the different variety of abilities that Kai Havertz has. When he's got his back to goal, one of the issues with Havertz is sometimes when he's turning, it isn't always effective. When it's on his right foot, sometimes also not so effective, but he's involving other players. And some of the passes we were seeing yesterday from Havertz was so intelligent, beyond his years. And I think a lot of the credit's got to go to Graham Potter for the way that he set the team out. Conor Gallagher is also an 8 out of 10. Should have probably been an 8.5 to be honest, but I've given him an 8. And what a substitution that was. When Graham Potter did that, and he brings off Felix, I'm thinking, well, yeah, alright, it wasn't the best first half from him, but to bring on Conor Gallagher, who I would say probably in terms of profile wasn't the ideal on paper replacement. You would have said Noni Madueke or Christian Pulisic or even Hakim Ziyech probably would have been a more expected, I guess you could say, substitution, which I also love. Because Gallagher came on and Chelsea immediately looked better. Chelsea immediately looked more secure. And the work that Gallagher was putting in yesterday, if we can get that out of Conor Gallagher every game, if he can be that man off the bench, I've seen it, the comparisons between Mourinho bringing on Mikel and now Potter bringing on Gallagher, we can actually see that tangibly in the Chelsea team. He was brilliant yesterday, Conor Gallagher. And overall, all of these player ratings come back down to the manager. Graham Potter gets a 9.5 because the way that we changed the game with the substitution with Gallagher for Felix, it was absolutely fantastic. He got minutes on the pitch again for Chalobah and Kane Chukwuemeka as well, which I absolutely love. I'm asking questions a bit about Noni Madueke's place in the team right now. He doesn't seem to be the person that we call up off the bench. Pulisic didn't come on again yesterday too. But we're starting to see a bit of identity in this Chelsea team. I wouldn't even say a bit. I'd say a lot of identity right now in this Chelsea team. Yesterday was once more a massive boost for the club. We go into the game next week against Everton at home. Everton are looking good again now. They won yesterday too, ending that incredible run that Brentford have made. But Graham Potter, all of the in-game decisions that we're seeing now, fantastic. The animation on the touchline, I know some people don't think it matters. It does. In my opinion, it's one of those untangible things that there isn't a stat to explain it, so some people can't fathom that it is actually a bit important. The players are fighting. Everybody yesterday goes over to the fans. I think almost every player threw their shirt in yesterday. So to see that rapport being built again between fans, players, Graham Potter as well, he deserves all the plaudits. And the last week has been, without question, the best week of his career as Chelsea manager. And we look forward, and if we get a win next week against Everton, the international break, we were crying out for it a couple of weeks ago. But now, We don't want it, but we can go into that if we win next weekend and think, wow, we are seeing something completely different. And of course, we've gone 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals. Now we want 4, please, GP. Call it in. Stamford Bridge next weekend. The cat's starting screaming now, so I'm going to go. Thank you guys for, once again, incredible support on the channel this week. And I'll see you all tomorrow with the news. Come on, you Blues.